So I'm here with the Labour candidate for the Withington constituency, Lucy Powell, and Eddie Izzard as well. So you've both sort of been out campaigning, and Eddie, you've been here in Manchester yesterday, and you're obviously here today.
Yeah.
So how has that been? Who have you met, and what sort of things have students particularly been talking to you about, that kind of thing?
Well, obviously we've been meeting people from all different walks of life. I've been out canvassing on the door, going around different streets, doorstepping, I think it's called, knocking on doors and talking to people, and it's been great. I mean, obviously it's a tough election, and but I totally believe in Lucy, and I've known Lucy for 7 years, so I can personally recommend her for Manchester Withington. I think people believe I'm a bit of a fighter now that I've run around the country, and she absolutely is a fighter and born and bred from here. So I give her my total support, and that's what I'm here to. That's what I'm here to do.
Have you had a chance to speak to many students while you've been out campaigning? Because obviously Withington is heavily populated by students. And I mean, is it important to you that you appeal to students?
Absolutely. Well, we were out yesterday in Fallowfield, outside the Sainsbury's, doing a bit of soapboxing and chatting to people there. Loads of people came out. It was very sort of warm response then. And I've done loads on campus over the last sort of couple of years. So absolutely, the student vote is very important to me and to the Labour Party.
What do you make of people who perhaps believe there's a bit of a student apathy? I mean, students not really getting out and voting. I mean, how do you think you can tackle that? Just sort of encouraging students to get out on May the 6th and vote?
Well, I mean, partly we've been trying to do different things. In fact, Eddie was here last year with us. We did a massive event on campus with 500 students, didn't we? Yeah. And Andy Burnham, and we did a sort of Q&A style discussion then. So
get it so that students can come in, because students, obviously are the brightest and the best of the next generation in Britain, and we got them in, and they could ask any questions they wanted to ask to people to Lucy and to Andy Burnham, and sort of get that unfettered access to people in politics, in case they want to be in politics or they want answers from politicians, and it is tricky. Politics, I've been saying this, I said this when I was with Gordon Brown down in Brighton, that politics is boring. People do find it boring, even students. I was a student, I didn't get involved in politics till my mid-30s, because I wanted to really know what I felt before I did that, and I had all these other things to do, which were called shows and stuff. But it's students are the hardest workers and the brightest and the sharpest at articulating either questions where they disagree or where they do agree, or the visions for the future. And so it's great when students get involved.
Fantastic. Talking a little bit about the campaign to win the seat in Withington, following the leaders' debate, I'm sure as you're aware, the Lib Dems have got a bit more support in sort of the press and in polls. Does that worry you at all? Because obviously the Lib Dems are your main competitors in this constituency.
It hasn't actually come through here yet. I don't know if that's because people around here are very much already exposed to the Liberal Democrats. We have a lot of stuff that comes out, so it's certainly not coming across yet on the doorstep. I think what it has done is throw the whole election open, and it has got a lot more people interested and now asking the questions, wanting to find out what the issues are, and I completely welcome that. So let's see how the next sort of couple of weeks go.
I mean, I was on the doorstep and we met some people who had voted Lib Dem essentially because of the Iraq War in the last election, and they were changing back to Labour, and that's after this change in the polls in this first debate. So it makes it interesting, because it looks like the Tories' support has come down and the Lib Dem support has gone up. But I think Gordon did very well. People were kind of down on it, but I thought he was really sticking it to David Cameron and where he's going to find this extra $6 billion worth of cuts, and David Cameron did not answer the question. He didn't even fudge the question, he just didn't answer the question. And I think the people today really do want that question answered.
And what people know around here in Manchester is that in Labour, Lib Dem marginals like Manchester Withington, a vote for the Lib Dems locally helps David Cameron into power. It helps the Tories, and I think people don't want that round here. So. And
they can't be the party of fairness, the Tories, because if they were, they wouldn't be in the Tory party. I just feel that there's a logic with that.
Yeah, certainly. And finally, something I really wanted to talk to you both about is how social networking is playing in this election. Because I know you're both Twitter users. And obviously Twitter's and the election have been in the press with Stuart McLennan and the Twitter suicide, as it's being dubbed. I mean, do you think it's playing an important part? Do you think it's changing how people are running and campaigning in the run-up to May the 6th?
I definitely think it's very powerful. I definitely think it should be used now and in the future to help people get more access to decisions, policy making, everything, because there is that disconnect, which 60 million people in the country. How many people vote? Is it 30 million who are allowed
40, I think.
40 million allowed to vote. So it is difficult for everyone without these the modern media to get access to information or being able to make decisions or get information around. Twitter is fantastic for that.
And the internet in general, because I know the Ellie Gellard mentioned it in the manifesto launch. And Labour Party have produced short videos, haven't they, to kind of spread around on the internet and stuff. And your own party election broadcast has been watched, Eddie, on YouTube quite a lot.
Absolutely.
Did you enjoy it? Is that something you really felt like you wanted to do, produce that broadcast?
Yeah, they asked me if I wanted to do one. I said, I guess I have my own viewpoints, and I try not to be wheeled out. There is a feeling, if you come from my background, that you might be just saying what people tell you to say, but I try to say what I feel. And I have been talking about politics for over 10 years, quite often about the European Union and subjects to do with that. But I've been a member of the Labour Party since '95, and so I say what I feel, and sometimes I will disagree with the government and or with Gordon Brown or whatever. But I just try and keep it that so that I am self-propelled as opposed to just coming out and saying things.
Fabulous. Okay. Well, to finish off, do you want to give a sentence or something to the student community, people that are going to watch this, about your message and why they should go out and vote for you?
Yeah, well, I think this election is going to be one of the most important elections we've had for ages. There's some big decisions facing the country, some big choices. So people should get out there and vote, first of all. And I believe that the Labour Party, the Party of Fairness, the Party of Equal Opportunity will guide us through those big choices much better than David Cameron, which is basically the choice you've got at this election. It's going to be between Labour or the Conservatives.
Eddie, any final comments?
I agree with that, and don't forget this recession that we went into was caused by capitalist casino gambling, that debt repackaging, that crazy stuff that seemed wrong at the time. And that's nothing to do with Labour Party policy. That was forced upon this country, forced upon the world, and came out of America. And I think Gordon Brown did very well. He set up the G20 was his idea. I asked him about this. Was it his idea? It was his idea. He put it together. It was hosted in London, and he took the firm lead on getting us out of that. We're now in recovery, and we're not strong yet, but it was the right way to do it. The Tories would have just cut jobs and services. When they know that, they said that, and they can't find this extra $6 billion worth of cuts that they're saying they're going to have to do as well. They're going to be cutting, in places in the NHS and teachers and police force. So I really think this is a time to go and support Labour.
Fabulous. Well, thank you very much for both of you for taking the time out to talk to us, and good luck in the weeks coming up to May the 6th.
Okay, thanks. Thanks very much, Rosie.
Fusefm.co.uk